In today's video, we're going to talk about breaking the diet cycle. Now, many people struggle with dieting, and I'm very fortunate to help some people recover from these poor diets or the way that they approach diets. So typically, when people go to diet, they go through a very restrictive phase at first. And they may stick to it for a short period of time, maybe for a long period of time, but then eventually people get off their diets, they binge, they gain the weight right back, and then they're at the same and or a worse spot from when they started, and the cycle goes on and on. So breaking the diet cycle is not always easy to do, and it takes a point in time where you just have to say enough is enough and I'm going to stick with the program. Now that can come through a couple different ways, but what I would encourage people to do is totally ignore the dieting for vacations, dieting for the summer, dieting for the holidays, whatever. Just throw that out the window. So don't diet according to the calendar. You just have to start from day one, no matter what time of the year it is, and go from there. So if we throw that completely out the window, that's not going to interfere with our forward progress, because a lot of people just have to get themselves set up properly in order for them to even start to consider to diet. So a lot of people, like I said, they go through restrictive dieting and then they binge, and then they try to restrictive diet and they binge, and back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So people are essentially in this state of continually dieting, and it's frustrating because they're spinning their wheels, they're not gaining any momentum, they're not seeing any progress, yet they are working very hard, but unfortunately they're going off the plan, they're not sticking to it long enough to see long-term results, and of course long-term results are what everyone is looking for. So the first step in breaking the diet cycle is just admitting it, realizing that you are in a diet cycle and that you need to overcome it. Up next, obviously you're going to want to put some kind of a plan in place. So for most people, what I would say is they need to stop dieting, they need to stop pursuing a deficit, and they need to start increasing their calories for an extended period of time. And I'm not talking about just for a couple weeks, I'm talking about for months and months on end. Anywhere from 4, if not 6, 8 to even 12 months some people need to build their metabolism up to even consider starting to take away from their total calories. Then and only then, when your total calories are at a point where they're high enough where you could just take away from, then you could start to diet. And when you start to diet, you do have, I would have somebody lay it out for you, maybe work with a coach to help you through these diet cycles, and that way you're not stuck in this never-ending loop. So there needs to be a clear-cut program where we want to try to get to X number in this amount of time, and then if you get to it, awesome. If you don't get to it, too bad, then you're reversing out of it. And that's where people need to realize that there is a point in time where you need to get out of the diet. If it's not working, or if you get to the number and that's the number that you wanted to, just pull out. You don't have to keep dieting for the sake of dieting. And sometimes diets work better than others, just from extraordinary circumstances, life stress, a lot going on. It's no fault of the person's own doing, is that if the diet's not working, sometimes they just don't work as best as they could. So you have to realize that there are some points in times where it's better just to pull out of the diet and start bringing up your calories. And I know that's hard for some people to go through, but we have to look back at it from like the 10,000 foot view, and that is looking at the long-term progress. And I feel like a lot of people, especially non-competitors out there, are stuck in this short-term result, and even competitors are stuck in this short-term result-driven mentality where they want the results yesterday. And we all know that the results don't come as quickly as we want them to. Even myself, I feel like my results don't come as quickly as they want to, but I do realize that in order to get the results that I'm looking for, I have to stick to them for an extended period of time, and that is especially true when it comes to dieting. So I'll finish with this, is my dad, as some of you may know, has been dieting a little bit since past September, and he is officially down under 200 pounds. So he started roughly around 220, maybe just under, and then he's officially under 200 pounds. And he wasn't perfect by any means, but we went through periods of caloric restriction and parts where we brought him up when he started to feel it a little bit, if you will. And the reason why he was able to get down is because we had a set plan laid out that he was going to diet, you know, from September roughly to the holidays, around Christmas time and New Year's, and we were going to bring him up through that period. And then more recently we started to bring him back down and leading him into dieting until Easter, and then we're going to bring him up. So there's clear-cut diet plans, and his diet didn't necessarily go 100% like we expected it to be, but he got in and got out when he needed to, and he reversed when he needed to, and more importantly, his calories are still at a good point in time where he's not continually in this diet cycle. Now, years past, he was definitely in this diet cycle where he tried to diet before and just didn't stick to it long enough. So really it's going to come down to a lot of consistency, a lot of dedication, and more importantly, the proper setup and manipulation. So, you know, he knows when he's in a deficit, he knows when he's in a maintenance phase and or surplus phase. So that's what I would encourage you guys to do in order to help break these diet cycles, is throw out the calendar and get it around your heads that we're not dieting for a specific period of time. We're not dieting for vacation. We're not dieting for a holiday. We're not dieting for a birthday. And we just need to get our bodies in order, our metabolism in order before we even consider going into a deficit. And I think if more people understood this, then more people would have a lot better success with their diets. So that's it for today's video, guys. I'll see you soon.